All right, Larry, Debbie, we ready to begin?
Yes, we are.
Awesome. All right, so this is Chris Wilhelmi, co-commissioner, just handling things while Danny is out for tonight. I'd just like to start with some opening comments before we formally open the meeting. Thank you all for attending this Planning Commission hearing. Before I begin, I'd like to state that in the interest of public and staff safety, the Town of Monument is currently following the CDC and Governor Polis's recommendations, and at this time, the Planning Commission hearings are at 100% remote using a Webex application. Last week, the Planning Department posted the plan for a hybrid Planning Commission meeting tonight, which including the public's ability to view each project in our Documents on Demand portal. Additionally, similar to the Board of Trustees meetings, the public may attend the meetings via registering with our Webex software. Those instructions were also available on the Town of Monument's website and on the various social media outlets. Further, the Planning Commission's role is to conduct public hearings and to make recommendations for the Board of Trustees about land use matters in the Town of Monument. Agendas and packet materials for this meeting are available on the town's website. The Planning Commission bylaws are also on the website, and should anyone wish to become a Planning Commissioner or alternative, you may find an application on the town website as well. Each commissioner agrees to a non-partial, objective, and fair review. Should a commissioner wish to disqualify him or herself for any conflicts of personal or financial interest in the matters before us tonight, please let us know and raise your hand now. Having seen none, I'll move on. For those who are attending tonight's public hearing via Webex, please ensure that you raise your hand in Webex and speak directly to the Commission so you can be heard. To ensure a timely and fair hearing, we ask that if multiple people have the same comment, only one person speak on that subject. Once the public hearing portion is closed, the applicant or staff will be offered an opportunity to provide rebuttal. I will then close the public comment session, and the Commission may ask additional questions at that time and discuss the proposal. Thank you, and this concludes the introduction. We will begin by moving forward with the roll call for tonight. I'll hand that off to the planning staff.
Co-Chairman Chris Wilhelmi.
Here.
Commissioner Martin Trujillo. Are you here, Martin?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Steve King.
Here.
Commissioner Joshua Thomas.
Here.
And Commissioner Sean White.
Present.
And we have a quorum.
All right, thank you. And I'll now move forward with the Pledge of Allegiance. I understand there's going to be an American flag presented. Maybe not. If not, let's do this. All right, everyone. I pledge allegiance to the flag,
of the United
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty
and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everyone. On to the next item. I'm going to request for approval of the previous Planning Commission meeting minutes. Would anyone like to submit for approval?
I'll make the motion that we approve the previous minutes. I don't have the date in front of me for what date that was, but.
Okay.
And I second that motion.
Thank you, Sean. Staff, do you want to do a quick vote? Or everyone, I'm happy to just see if there's any nays or yays.
Let's do the nays or yays.
Okay. All those in favor of adopting the previous Planning Commission meeting minutes, please say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, please say nay. All right. I heard no nays. I believe the Planning Commission meetings have been adopted from the last meeting have been adopted. All right. We're going to move forward with the public hearing and recommendations. I'm going to open this, and I'm going to open with the, I guess, the UPS Distribution Center filing number 1. I'm going to hand this off to, I believe, staff to then let us hear from the applicant.
Yep. Good evening, Planning Commissioners and public. Tonight we'll be discussing the UPS Distribution Center. The UPS Distribution Center's facility is within Falcon Commerce Center Phase 1 Preliminary PD Site Plan. The site is bounded by Squadron Drive to the north and Woodcarver Road to the west and south. It is 16.91 acres in size. The existing zoning. The UPS Distribution Center is part of Falcon Commerce Center Phase 1 approved Preliminary PD Site Plan. The approved Preliminary PD Site Plan indicates the area to be developed as commercial. Forest Lakes Metro District will provide both water and wastewater services for all development within Falcon Commerce Center. The existing surrounding uses include the Pilot Travel Center, Valero Gas Station, and Pioneer Landscape Centers. The final PD site plan. UPS is 98,290 square foot facility with the possibility of expanding to the south in the future, which provides the associated parking. The proposed uses are warehousing and administrative offices. The facility also has a 24-hour guardhouse. Access points. Truck vehicles will access Squadron Drive, 2 full movement access points, A and B, which you can see on your screen, via Woodcarver Road rather than Terrazzo Drive. Turning movements via Woodcarver Road will be more manageable for the truck drivers than turning onto Terrazzo Drive from Baptist Road. However, Terrazzo Drive will be a temporary access until Woodcarver Road improvements are made. Currently, Woodcarver Road from the roundabout to about Squadron Drive is a county road. The town of Monument is currently in the process of annexing it into the town. The county attorney's office will be providing the town a draft IGA within the next week. The developer of Falcon Commerce Center has agreed to make the necessary road improvements to bring this section of Woodcarver Road to the town's roadway standards. Typical business hours for UPS is Monday through Friday. The UPS Brown trucks from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m., 100 drivers will leave the site. However, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., there's no way to tell how many per hour will return. The UPS larger tractor trailers from midnight to 6 a.m., 8 to 10 trucks will arrive. From 7 p.m. to 11 p.m., approximately 3 to 5 trucks will leave the facility. Traffic generation analysis was conducted for this facility. It mostly weighed on heavy vehicle queue lengths. All turn lane lengths have sufficient storage to accommodate traffic volumes. At the West Baptist Road and I-25 northbound ramp, exceptions include the westbound right and northbound left turn lane. The analysis results were no significant blocking caused by anticipated northbound queue lengths. Upstream blocking of Pilot Travel Center car access occurs approximately 17% of the time, about 10 minutes in a given peak traffic hour. And the next few slides are the elevations of the proposed UPS facility. This is the north elevation, south elevation, east elevation, and west elevation. Below are a list of our referrals who have reviewed and commented on the project. Staff recommendation. Staff recommends approval of the UPS Distribution Center final PD site plan based on the staff report findings, and that the proposed development complies with all standards and criteria for approval with the following condition. No building permits will be issued until access permits are issued by either El Paso County or the Town of Monument, whomever has ownership of Woodcarver and Baptist Road. And the applicants are online to answer any questions that you may have or you may have for staff.
I have a couple questions. This could be either staff or the applicant. As far as the amount of employees that are there and the shifts that are there, is that where people will come in all at one time and then leave at one time, and about how many employees are going to be there?
I don't know the number of employees. Sergio might be able to answer that, but not everyone will come in and leave at the same time.
Yeah, I just hear, people talk about all the traffic that's going to be there, and I mean, that's always an issue. I see a lot of it on Mitchell Road. You can tell when the shifts are changed. I assume that this will probably be the same.
Well, this is a distribution center. They're not making any products here. So that's why there's so many shift chains for J-Bill in that area. But this is a distribution center, so the shift chains won't be as often, and people will be coming and going, not at the same time. And I see that Brian's online too. He's one of the applicants if he wants to go further with the answer.
Yes, Brian Weiss from Ware Malcolm. I'm actually the architect, and Sergio Enrique from UPS is also here, I believe. And I think Sergio can probably answer the question a little better about the number of employees and the times that they'll be entering and exiting the facility. But like Debbie said, this is a distribution center, so it's really taking care of packages that are coming in and going back out again. So there's nothing being made here. So I don't know, Sergio, if there's anything you can add to the amount of employees.
Sergio, there he goes. Never mind.
It's not that critical as far as I'm concerned. I just wanted to know if that was going to be like a lot of impact. That doesn't sound like it is.
Oh, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, Sergio.
Okay, sorry about that. Just a little technical background here. So in regards to the employee shifts, we will have two part-time shifts. So one shift will begin about 4 in the morning and will run to about 8 in the morning. We see approximately at this time about, I want to say, anywhere between 30 to 50 part-time employees in the morning. And then we will have a second shift in the evening, which will begin around 5 p.m. and end about 9 p.m. And we should have approximately 30 employees. Those are part-time employees. During the day, obviously, the 100-plus drivers will arrive somewhere around 7:30, 8 a.m., and will depart for the day, and then return between 5 and 8 p.m.
All right, thank you for that. My second question is probably more appropriate for Debbie. Debbie, do you know, has that access easement been resolved for the property on Woodcarver and Baptist?
Yes, it has. At the last meeting, it was resolved, which
Okay.
is north of the UPS facility,
All right.
off of Squadron Drive.
All right.
It was
Thank you.
resolved at the last Board of Trustee meeting, I'm sorry to say. It wasn't at
Yeah,
Planning Commission,
I just
but
wanted
at the board
to
meeting.
make sure. I just wanted to make sure that got resolved and didn't get lost somewhere.
Nope, it was resolved. Their
All right.
attorney showed up to the board meeting, and it was explained further to them, and they were happy with the response.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
That's all I have.
This is Commissioner White. I have a couple of questions. I'm looking at the plan for parking, and I'm just curious about when 100 drivers show up and park and leave their cars there during the day. I'm assuming though there's 100 delivery trucks that they would hop in and depart in. Is all of that parking there on the north side of the building going to accommodate both the delivery trucks and the personally owned vehicles that people drive to work, or are the trucks going to be parked elsewhere on the property?
The trucks are not parked in that parking lot that you're referencing though. That's only for employees, and then there's also a couple parking spaces for residents or people coming to pick up packages, which is not real common. So all of those parking spaces that you're mentioning are for employee parking. And then the actual box trucks, I don't think we have a plan here showing it, but most of them are actually inside the building and get loaded inside and then drive out.
Wow, you'll be able to fit nearly 100 trucks inside the building overnight before the workers get there?
I believe that's correct, Sergio. Is that?
Yes, sir, Commissioner White. Yes. So as the drivers return from 5 to 8, luckily they do return between those hours. If they all arrived at the same time, we would have problems. But since they do not, it makes it easier for them to park their vehicles inside.
Wow. Okay. That's amazing. Thank you for that answer. And I think you partially answered one of my other questions, and that was going to be, was this just going to be for delivery, or are there also going to be instances of people coming here to pick up their packages? I hear you said that would be uncommon. I'm just wondering how often does that happen? Is that like just once a month, or is that like a couple every day, or what? How does that work?
I think it's more on the scale of a couple every day.
Yeah, Commissioner White, we will have a customer counter here. It will be open for several hours during the day, and folks will be able to park and bring in their packages to ship them. We do not know what the hours are going to be for this center at this time, but I will estimate it to be somewhere between 10 in the morning to possibly 2 to 4 in the afternoon.
Okay. That's awesome. The staff that you envision working here, I guess it looks like predominantly part-time. Are those going to be staff maybe transferring in from other facilities, or are you going to be looking to hire locally to fill those, what I'm counting could be up to 60 to 80 people?
Yes, sir, Commissioner White. So what we envision with what we consider a spin-off building, which this is, so the employees in the existing Southeast site in Colorado Springs will be offered an opportunity to transfer to this site. Now, historically, what we see is that in a 100-car center, usually about 50 drivers will transfer over. Sometimes less than that. And then on the part-time ranks, I would say possibly about 20% will transfer. The rest of the staff will be hired locally. The total employment for this site will be somewhere between 150 to 200 employees.
I like to hear that. That is great. And it sounds like about half of the drivers would be hired and maybe up to 80% of the part-time would be hired locally. Is that what I understood?
Yes, sir. That's what we're estimating at this time.
Great. I see that there's administrative space in this facility. Do you have yet a proposal of how much of the facility is going to be dedicated to administrative space and offices?
Yes. If you give me a second, I can tell you. Of the 98,000 approximately square feet in the building, about 5,500 of that is going to be office space. We have 3 basic office areas within the facility, and they're all 2-story office spaces, but approximately 5,500 square feet total of the building is going to be office and administrative.
Okay. Now, are those going to be occupied by those part-time workers, or will you have full-time during the day workers, office workers that utilize that space?
Yes, sir, Commissioner White. So during the day, we will have approximately probably 10 to 15 full-time employees. And I would say somewhere between 10 and 15 part-time employees.
Got it. And that's during the business day, business hours?
Yes, sir. Those are during business hours, and those will be located within those offices.
Okay.
It's more support functions.
Sure. Makes sense. All right, and then I just have one more question that I've written down here, and that is on the western side of the property, there's a retaining wall or a proposed retaining wall shown. I was just wondering what the height of that retaining wall is.
Good question. It is, let me see if I can find it in our plans.
I think it might be 6 feet. You could correct me if I'm wrong.
I think that sounds about right. I'm looking at the grading, and figuring out what it is there. But yeah, I think it's probably a 6-foot wall.
6 foot. So does that mean that the entire site then is going to be probably 6 foot or so higher than the elevation of the Santa Fe Trail?
Correct.
Okay. And that retaining wall, I'm just thinking of the aesthetics of, the passerbys that either are driving on Wood Carver or just using the trail.
Right.
What's the vision for that retaining wall and maybe the landscaping around it? Is it going to be plain Jane, or do you have some architectural elements to it?
We have, Debbie, they have our full set of documents, correct?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Yes, I provided that in the packet.
Okay.
The landscaping should have been with the packet.
Yeah, so if you look on page 4 of that packet, you'll see an example of the retaining wall. And it's a ready rock wall. And then on sheet Hold on 1 second. Sheet 13, 14, and 15, you'll see the landscaping plan as well.
Going there now. Need a more powerful computer.
Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you.
I got sheet 12 of 18, and then I go to L1. So
It should be that one.
Yeah.
13, 14, 15. Yeah.
Got it. L1. Okay. Nice trees, shrubs. Okay, perfect. I like it. Okay, well, I apologize for asking so many questions, but I appreciate all of your answers. That's all I have.
No problem.
Hey, this is Joshua Thomas. A couple questions. First one for probably staff. What does the proposed expansion look like? Is that expansion to the parking lot, building?
That's for the building, and Brian and Sergio can talk more about that. It's just so they can expand in the future if need be.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
There's no plans at this point.
Commissioner Thomas, when we expand this building, which will be sometime around 15 to 20 years out, it will be towards the south.
Okay. What percentage increase would that be?
Most likely 20 to 25% is what the additional property will allow for.
So that's quite a ways out. 15 to 20 years is your estimate?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Question around staffing needs. As an employer in the monument area, there's a need for more hourly employees to fill the labor market as it is right now. So I'm just curious what your internal market analysis told you, whether or not there's a sufficient pool of available hourly part-time employees to immediately fill your needs.
Well, based on the fact that we have a full roster of part-time employees in the southeast area of Colorado Springs, we're hoping that several of those part-timers, including, several of the drivers, will relocate to this area above and beyond the percentages or the numbers that I previously mentioned. We do look at market conditions, and we will evaluate the possibility of either turning part-time positions into full-time positions if need be.
Right. Yeah, and I ask because as part of my job as a vice president of development, when I go in to build a new site, one of my jobs is to look at the availability of staff. If I conclude there is an availability of staff that can fill my needs, that's checking one of the boxes on my pencil test. So I think that's going to be difficult for you in the beginning. Again, that was in our market analysis when we built in Monument. So it would probably be would probably be good if you were able to bring up a higher percentage than what you said your average was, 20% or whatever your average was, because it's going to be difficult in that area to find part-time hourly employees. So just want to keep that on your radar. Question I have, not pertaining to staff, speaking to the upstream traffic delay that was mentioned. What does that physical backup look like? What is that distance? I don't think that was very well explained.
Commissioner Thomas, Debbie, before you continue, if I could just add to the employee market analysis that Commissioner Thomas was referring to.
Yep.
I just wanted to add that, UPS part-time positions usually start around $15 to $18 per hour, sometimes more than that. And all these positions do come with full benefits. So we hardly ever have issues filling part-time positions.
Okay.
We will take that under consideration.
Yeah, that's good to hear. My first 2 years of college, I worked for UPS and part-time on your third shift, and it was the same. So that's good to hear that the benefits, full-time benefits for part-time employees is still offered. I think that's very attractive.
Yes, sir.
So then, getting back to my question, speaking to the upstream traffic delay,
Yes.
What does that physical backup look like as far as distance? I see 17%.
Yeah. It would be blocking the pilot travel center, 10 minutes of a given peak hour, not 10 minutes at one time, but with 10 minutes total within a peak hour. And that's without a signal being at Terrazzo. In the future, Terrazzo is going to be signalized in the near future. The developer and the surrounding developers are working on with CDOT currently to implement a signal at the Terrazzo intersection. So when that signal there won't be a backup with a queuing backup block in the travel center whatsoever. But until that signal there, once in a blue moon, there might be a queuing backup in front of the pilot travel center.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you, Debbie. That answers exactly what I was asking.
Perfect.
Hi, this is Chris Wilhelmi. I just have some questions. Regarding the fence, I see that there's a notation for a vinyl chain link fence. Is that's the plan, to surround this facility with a vinyl chain link fence?
That is the plan, yes, and it's been coordinated with the Falcon Commerce Center and their design review committee and team as well.
Do you have an illustration or a graphic of that fence?
We do not in our plans, no.
Is there barbed wire on the fence, or how high is it?
There is
barbed wire.
Yeah, there's no barbed wire.
Okay. And it's how high?
8 feet, I believe.
I believe it's
a 7 feet?
7 foot.
Sorry. I know we were going back and forth on that.
Okay. Were any other fence designs considered?
Well, there is the retaining wall that we talked about earlier. There is a portion of that on the north side of the property as well, kind of hiding some dock doors that are showing on the north side, basically right along that the south edge of that parking lot there. I don't believe we considered any other type of fencing. Like I said, we had discussions with Falcon Commerce Center and their design review committee and came to an agreement as to what type of fencing we could use. They have it pretty well spelled out in their standards as to the type of fencing that they wanted.
Okay.
And their landscaping is going to be around the fencing as well to make it nicer looking.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess in terms of a vinyl fencing, it's not going to look like your silver chain link fence necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Brian and Chris, on sheet 15, I see a example perimeter fencing, 6-foot high vinyl coated chain link fencing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that not what we're talking about?
On 15?
Yeah, I think it's identified. I just didn't see a depiction. Do you see a depiction?
I do on mine. Did I get a special packet?
Possibly. Let's say you're saying 15?
Yeah, sheet 15. At the bottom of the sheet.
All right. Oh, this is on I don't see it, but I understand. And any thoughts? Well, I'll save that. So, in regards to the bike, I see there's identification for bike racks.
Correct.
How many, like I say, bike spaces? And then in addition, are there going to be bike lanes that are set for either squadron, woodcarver, or both?
I can't speak to the bike lanes. I do not believe there will be on any of the roadways throughout Falcon. But we're proposing, let me check real quick here. We have 4 spaces listed for bicycle spaces in our table on page 1.
Okay. All right. And do you see currently, not necessarily in the future, but currently this facility being serviced by any electric vehicles, like electric delivery trucks, anything like that from the sound side or even just the environmental side?
Commissioner Wilhelmy, that's a good question. I know UPS as a organization is evaluating several types of sustainable energy vehicles, including CNG, electric vehicles, electric tractors for trailers. But at this time, I'm not aware of any that will be stationed at this site.
Okay. I'm just jumping around because I have a bunch of notes, and I thank you for your patience. In regards to, I see some pavement, but I'm not seeing, is there going to be pavement that surrounds or otherwise is adjacent to the roadways around this facility?
I'm not quite sure I understand the question, but we do have sidewalks, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should use sidewalks. I see sidewalks within the facility itself or within the facility's bounds, but I see some markings for crosswalks. Is there, I guess, a sidewalk that is parallel to Squadron Drive or a sidewalk that's parallel to? Okay.
If you see, if you look on sheet 2, just happens to be the one that I'm on right now. You see where it says proposed stop sign, and then there's a radius of 25 feet, and like you said, there's the crosswalk
right
shown there. It's not part of our it's part of the Falcon Commerce Center development as a whole, not part of our site specifically, but you can see just off to the right and left of the crosswalk, you can kind of see the accessibility ramp leading up to 2 Great Lines, basically, which is, and then, I guess if you look further on down, it is calling it out as a proposed 5-foot sidewalk.
Sidewalk. Okay, I see that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is regarding the employees, it sounds like 10 to 15 full-time employees administratively or otherwise on site. Are the truck drivers considered full-time?
Yes, sir. The truck drivers are full-time.
Okay.
But what I was referring to are those support functions that work within the building.
Understood. Are the drivers also, or even the distribution workers it sounds like they have benefits, which is great. Are they also union?
Yes, sir, they are.
Okay, great. I kind of want to explore just a little bit, and I don't want to necessarily harp on it because I think this has been touched on. But in regards to heading 25 south, and that entrance ramp, 25 south from Baptist, are there any plans at this time, if this was built, given the known amount of trucks, to either add a dedicated lane, adjusting traffic signals, or do anything else to accommodate the amount of trucks or employees that are coming and going from that facility, heading 25 south?
So one of the things that Falcon Commerce Center as a whole development did was they hired a traffic analysis. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you have that report as part of this project or not, but I do know that they've looked at the entire area and then the traffic counts based on UPS and some of the other facilities that are being planned for Falcon Commerce Center as a whole. And
I can touch upon that if you like. There will be an acceleration lane off of Baptist Road for people to turn into development as well. And like I said earlier, Terrazzo Drive will be installing a signal there through all the developers in the surrounding area will help contribute to pay for that signal. And then CDOT is working with them currently right now. And the same engineer who wrote the report for this project and for all the Falcon Commerce Center projects is helping with the signal design for that as well. So everything that's being proposed here and for Falcon Commerce Center, they've all met together and make sure everything is cohesive, that in the future the road design is the same on every single submittal through Falcon Commerce Center. I don't know if that helps you in any way, but for the on-ramp and off-ramps with going on to I-25, that would be up to CDOT to make improvements, not the developer.
Yeah, this is Larry. I just wanted to mention, I believe that right turn southbound off of Baptist to I-25 is a free right, and it turns into a merge. So in other words, if you're eastbound on Baptist and you want to turn right to go south on I-25, you will stop if the light says so, but even if you stop, you have a free right. You don't have other people taking in up that lane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and thank you. And that's pure experience, just making a left from Baptist onto I-25 South almost daily, and just seeing some of the trucks from that Arby's, whatever that center is.
Pilot.
Pilot, kind of backing up a little bit. They're definitely slower. They take a lot more to move, and they can't just hop on it. But I was just looking for some reassurance that, especially from the folks down in I guess Lake Drive or Lake Shore. I'm sorry, I forget the name.
Forest Lakes.
Forest Lakes. There you go. That they're going to be coming out. That's their main egress, and so in terms of that was just what I was thinking of. There's a lot of trucks that are contemplated to be on that road going south or north, hitting that main artery, and likely a lot during the rush hour. And that's just something that I can only imagine it'll be a very, very busy intersection.
And that's why this traffic generation analysis was required upon staff for the applicant to do, because we wanted to make sure there's not going to be any blocking of intersections, and it'll be a smooth transition for all the drivers. And with the typical business hours of the heavy trucks and the UPS brown trucks, it doesn't look like there'll be any major issues at this time with the times that they're coming and going.
Cool.
Yeah, also, Commissioner Wilhelmy, if I can add, we strategically located this facility so that it serves not only the town of Monument, but primarily the residents north of Monument as well. Okay, some of the drivers will be delivering to the northern extent of Colorado Springs, but the focus for this site is to provide services to Monument and north of Monument.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's all. Thank you for the time. I think that's all I have. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, Debbie, this is Raheel. A couple of questions. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. This one's for you. And actually, again, as Brian had just talked, well, not Brian, I'm sorry, Chris had mentioned, on the traffic, obviously, to the south, my concern is if Monuments to the south, heading north on I-25, we have the chain-up area. That chain-up area goes all the way up to Castle Rock. If there's extensive snow and the highway is blocked down, will 105 be used as a contingency roadway for UPS on that two-lane road coming through Monument? North to get a distribution center.
Yeah, that would be up to the UPS facility to determine if they can make it to work. I think Sergio probably can answer that too, if that would be required upon them to take 105.
Yeah, Commissioner Trujillo, that's a good question. Operationally, at this time, it will be a distribution, drivers taking the main roadways, specifically I-25, but you may have other drivers heading straight east on Baptist and others heading straight north on Woodcarver. Now, the ones on Woodcarver will be minimal because there's probably going to be one or two drivers serving that area. But yes, if roads are blocked, like every other business, we will find ways to get our drivers out to the service areas.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sergio. I guess my question then is, what is the contingency plan during heavy snowfall for the UPS trucks traveling north and south from the distribution center?
And that's another good question, Commissioner Trujillo. At this time, I don't think I can provide anything, but we can provide something in the near future.
Yes, sir. No, I greatly appreciate your honesty. Again, as you know, and I'm sure you've already driven the area, going through Monument as a two-lane highway up to 105 all the way up to Sedalia, that may be, let's say even at a minimum 11 trucks traveling up and down that northern or that western corridor if I-25 is shut down. With the amount of traffic that's in that area now, that might be an issue. And I think generally the traffic analysis looked at, just the impact, but not the greater area, that may sustain operations for UPS. But no, definitely agree. That would be something we'd want to take a look at, just so we have that ready for the city to counter or take a look at for the future of the residents within within Monument itself. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. That could be something we can deliver at a future date.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
I just had a follow-up question to staff. This is Chris Wilhelmy. Based on what Martin brought up, are there any weight or wheel restrictions on Old Denver Road or Jackson Creek that we should be aware of for, like, possibly an 18-wheel UPS truck trying to reroute?
Not that I'm aware of that there's a restriction for these type of trucks.
Really? Okay.
We have trucks that go down it occasionally from Pilot and the Valero, and there has been no issue. But that's a very occasional time. But most of these trucks are coming off of the interstate and going straight to the UPS facility. They're not going anywhere but to the facility and then back onto the interstate. The brown trucks will be going elsewhere, but the tractor trailer trucks will be going from into the I-25. They won't be going down Jackson Creek Parkway or Old Denver.
It sounds like there's no restriction on them from stopping them from doing that, though. Is that right?
No, but their means of travel doesn't take them in that direction.
Right. I was just thinking more as the alternative, whether it's snow or occasionally there's the accident as a form of rerouting.
Yep, that would be the only occurrence that possibly would happen if it's a necessity. But usually on a daily basis, they won't be traveling in that direction.
Now, Commissioner, just to add to that, Debbie is correct. The feeder tractor trailers will primarily stick to the main highways, okay? Because we are aware that CDOT, through history, has done a better job with snow removal on the highways than the towns do on their other roadways. And no disrespect intended to towns and cities, but that's what we occasionally see. So we do our best to push our drivers onto the major highways, even if there are delays.
Okay, thank you. And one additional question for staff. There is mention on there's this thought of no building permits will be issued until access permits are issued by El Paso County or the town of Monument, whoever is ownership of Wood Carver and Baptist Road. When would that be determined or decided?
Right now, we're in talks with the county and CDOT. The county owns Wood Carver Road, so they would need Falcon Commerce Center would need an access permit off of Wood Carver Road. We're currently receiving a draft IGA next week to approve, and they gave us the authority to approve any road improvement and access permits at the time. Right now, for Baptist Road, however, the developer of this property of Falcon Commerce Center is having survey work done of Baptist Road because CDOT and the county are confused who owns the road or not. So we're getting title work done to determine this, and then whoever owns the road after doing that will have to give the access permit at the time. And since CDOT's working with the developers with the signal, there's no issue with getting the access permit, but in the long run, the town is in works of annexing Baptist Road from Terrazzo to the roundabout and from the roundabout to about Squadron Drive. So eventually it will be a town-owned road, but before it's a town-owned road, they would need an access permit from either the county or CDOT, and they're aware of that.
Okay. I think I digested that. That's a
yeah. It's been a long conversation with everything lately with those two areas. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Is there any other comments or questions? I know we have had a bit of an open floor, but I still haven't requested or asked for public comments. regarding this, but I wanted to just see if we've cleared the air, so to speak, regarding our planning commission and staff and planning commission and the applicant. Any other questions or comments from us at this time? Okay. All right. So having heard none, I'm going to open for public comment. I don't know, and I'm going to ask Drew if there's anyone from the public who has presented or otherwise has a comment that he can see.
At this time, Mr. Chairman, we don't have any hands raised, but I do believe a couple of people came in after you gave that block of instruction. So we may want to allow people a couple of seconds as I stall for time and ramble on to see if anybody has a hand that they want to raise. We usually give it a couple of minutes on the BOT to see. Otherwise, you can kind of carry on if anybody has any other questions or any clarifications, and I will watch and interrupt if it comes up.
Okay, well, how about this? I'll just leave it kind of ambiguously quiet for about a minute, and then if there are none, I will close the public comments section and we can move on. But at least for an awkward 30 to 60 seconds of time, we'll let things play out, okay?
I can absolutely do that, sir.
All right, thank you. So everyone just kind of stand by for about 30 or 60 seconds, and I'll come back online.
These guys are, they got some.
All right. Any updates, Drew, on your end regarding public?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. It sounds like, and it seems like there's no additional input or any input from the public, at least at this time. So I'm going to go ahead and formally close for public comments, and I will open for discussion between the commissioners. Question, comments. What would you like to add?
Well, I'll start. I'll just say that I think this is a good spot for a distribution center. I think the access is ideal for them. I like the fact that this is not a 100-foot high building, where we've talked about before. And my guess in seeing these, I used to live next to a FedEx distribution center, and the traffic didn't seem as bad as you would think. I know that the Pilot and the Valero are going to have probably 50 times the amount of traffic that this place will have. The drivers all leave and then they're gone for the day. So that doesn't concern me. I like this project personally.
Yeah, Steve, I'm with you. I look at the land that's in this area. It's basically just field that goes from the Santa Fe Trail over to the interstate. So it's not like it's a real high value plot of vegetation or forested land. So I think it's also an ideal use for this particular site. I really like that this particular development is going to offer opportunity for jobs in in Monument. I think that's one of the goals of the comprehensive plan is to get jobs, to have a work-live type environment. I know this overall development includes, eventual commercial and residential, multifamily residential. You could have a live-work kind of scenario. And I would say even to the planning staff, we need to look at maybe the additional folks that are coming into our community to work here and entice them or invite them into the community. Get the banners up maybe down closer to that roundabout to let them know about the different art hops and different activities, the concerts that we have going on. Currently advertise that on Old Denver Highway, but we're going to have a population down here that needs to be invited into the community to come and see what Monument has to offer. So yeah, I'm all for it. I think this is a good development. I like the aesthetics that they've thought through in terms of how it's going to look from the Santa Fe Trail. So yeah, I'm a fan.
This is Chris Wilhelmi. Just wanted to add, in general, I like this. Obviously, it's going to be a great opportunity for everything from employment to what seems to be a good use of the land. I would applaud, again, the good-paying jobs, union jobs. That's great. It's an ideal employer in many respects, and I would encourage UPS to consider adding a few more bike spaces. 4 just doesn't seem adequate, and having something to do with having some other ways to get to work. And really, again, if there's going to be some folks in Monument who really physically are close enough to literally bike to work, boy, that would be awesome. And having a bike lane or at least something that encourages that would be wonderful. And I know that UPS, market forces will likely drive it to more electric vehicles. That's wonderful. That's going to happen. It's just naturally going to happen. And I applaud the landscaping. It looks like there's plenty of trees just to get the green around the building, which is great. I would love to see something else besides a vinyl chain link. And I would encourage some more look into that if it's possible. I understand that it's probably on the cheaper side, but still, again, aesthetically, it's going to be a while until those trees and the shrubs and all that stuff actually grows and creates that space that kind of shields from the public eye. But I think my biggest thing is, if you can, understanding that there's probably and likely a requirement to offer a transfer to the folks down in southern Colorado Springs. I understand union contracts, but again, looking locally for this type of employment would be ideal. So the idea of filling these jobs with monumenters, I don't even know if that's correct, would be wonderful. And I would strongly encourage UPS to do that to, again, build rapport with the community of Monument and be more integrated into the community. And on top of that, taking a stride to make alternative, especially bike lanes or bike racks or anything else to encourage employees to just simply ride their way to work would be wonderful. So thank you.
Commissioners, thank you for your time and consideration. We will take all your recommendations and look into them, and with the hopes of incorporating several of them into this project. We do our best to not only provide great services, great employment, but we do our best in being a great corporate citizen. So again, thank you for your time and consideration.
All right, well, we're not done yet. So let me just exhaust from the commissioners the comments or any feedback, any more discussion, commissioners.
Hello, Chris. Martin again. Again, with that contingency, my only concern is just having that somehow outlined so it's clear to the residents of Monuments on that thoroughfare with those larger trucks, Sergio, as we discussed and again, look forward to the project. I think it's going to be a great addition to the area.
Martin, are you proposing any sort of, you said contingency, any sort of condition or anything else that you formally want to interject into this?
Yeah, I think, I'm willing to go ahead and approve or recommend approval for the distribution center with the condition that the contingency plan is outlined for the city of Monument for the larger trucks and trailers if I-25 is closed during extreme conditions, so that way the Planning Commission can properly plan for those contingencies. And I'll go ahead and read the contingency if that's in fact what, if there are any others, we'll go ahead and adjust those on there.
Yeah, I'll ask you to hold on that for a second. Any other feedback from the commissioners on either what Martin brought up or anything else?
This is Steve. I don't know how we can require them to have some kind of contingency plan getting through the town. You almost have to do what you have to do, and I don't know how you would address every possible scenario that would come up. That would be my only concern with that.
I agree with you, Steve, but I think that, again, it's not an issue of the trucks moving. I mean, the trucks are going to be moving through I-25. It's just the contingency of if I-25 is closed, what is their plan? If they have a plan, I think it's great. I mean, that way they're disclosing that. If they say, if the highway's closed, we're going to go ahead and, hold until the highway's open, great. If they say they're going to utilize I-105, both directions, well, is that going to cause a problem on 105 by the volume of traffic that's going to be using that two-lane highway from Monument all the way up to Sedalia? That's something we can look for and actually prepare for if, in fact, that volume is going to cause something or some type of volume that we're not even anticipating at this time.
Yeah, except that CDOT owns 120 or 105, so Monument wouldn't be able to plan for that. And I guess I would just say to you, let's just pretend that they had a contingency plan and then nobody followed it. Who would enforce that, and how would you know?
Great point. I don't know, and that's a real great point. But I think the citizens, if we don't ask the question, they're going to be the ones that are going to be going to the city and saying, well, we didn't ask the right question, and that right question, now if they're blocked up, let's say coming from Palmer Lake to Monument to get onto I-25, and there is an accident, or, all the trucks are blacked up by the one light that's right there by Rosie's Diner. Now, now we have another problem. And that's why, again, just trying to anticipate not the answer of UPS, but okay, if in fact it does happen, and you choose to do so, at least we're aware of it.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I just don't know how that would be enforceable, considering that Monument doesn't have any real say over 105, since it's a CDOT road. Personally, I'd have a hard time supporting that. It seems more like a point to maybe bring up, but I wouldn't hold up a project like this because of something like that personally.
Yeah, I agree with you, Steve. I think condition is entirely too strong of a term to use for it. That the project is conditioned, but like Chris brought up, consider other options for fences. Consider more bike racks. These are just considerations that we're putting forth, and I wonder if a contingency plan for either some sort of closure of I-25 could be recommended to be considered in the same way that bike racks or a different fencing option might be considered.
Commissioners, if I may add something. If it's put down as a consideration just to meet Commissioner Trujillo's request, UPS is a planning type of company. We come up with all sorts of logistical plans and backups. That's what we do. We can provide something, not in great detail, but we can provide something. But please keep in mind that these tractor trailers will be operating between midnight and 6 a.m. and 7 through 11 p.m., which will not affect your normal business hour traffic.
Perfect, Sergio. No, and this is Martin again. Yeah, I thank you for that. I mean, that definitely, I understand your point, and I understand the organization relation of the planning aspect. So, without any further ado on this, Chris, I would say, without the condition, we've discussed it. I'm sure, the responsible entity that UPS is will definitely go forth and do great things. So I have no restrictions. That was my only restriction, was a contingency, but I have no condition on the actual recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Any other, Commissioner Weiss, do you have anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. It sounds like we've come to the tail end of our discussion, but let me know if I'm wrong. Okay. So, having heard everything, I'm going to go ahead and open this number one, the UPS Distribution Center filing number. Is there anyone who would like to move? And I believe there's some language that is provided. Move to approve conditionally, or otherwise. If anyone would like to do that, please do so.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll move that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the UPS Distribution Center final PD site plan based on the staff report findings, that the proposed development complies with all standards and criteria for approval with the following condition. No building permits will be issued until access permits are issued by El Paso County or the Town of Monument, whomever has ownership of Wood Carver and Baptist Road.
And I'll second that. Could we have a roll call from staff?
Commissioner Sean White.
Yes.
Commissioner Joshua Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Steve King.
Yes.
Commissioner Martin Trujillo.
Yes.
Co-Chairman Chris Wilhelmy.
Yes.
This project has been approved 5-0.
All right. Moving right along, we'll just get to the second and what appears to be final consideration here. Number 2, Sanctuary Point filing number 8. I'll tender this to the staff.
Did I share it correctly? Is it up? Sorry, I'm making sure.
I see the first slide.
Okay, perfect. Just making sure. Sorry.
No problem.
Good evening again. It's the final plat for Sanctuary Point, filing number 8. Phase 3 of Sanctuary Point, which is off of Sanctuary Rim Drive. It is 45.551 acres in size. Phase 3, final PD site plan, which was approved on January 21st, 2020. This consists of 27 residential lots, 3 tracks, and 2 streets. The lots range in size from 9,854 to 77,664 square feet. The tracks will be owned and maintained by Triview Metro District. The plat is consistent with the PD site plan, and all code standards are met. The summary of the table from the plat Tracks A through C include open space, pocket park, trails, buffer, landscaping, public utilities, and drainage. This consists of 61.93% of the total acreage size, and 27 residential lots, which is 34.33% of the total acreage size of 45.551 acres. Staff recommends approval of a final plat for Sanctuary Point filing number 8 based on the staff report findings that the proposed development complies with all standards and criteria for approval. And staff and the applicants are online for any questions that you may have.
Any input from the applicant at this time?
Good evening, Commissioners. This is Lauren Norland. I'm Vice President with Classic Homes and the Project Manager at Sanctuary Point. So PD Site Plan 3 is the final PD Site Plan in Sanctuary Point. PD Site Plan 1 to the east consisted of 255 lots and 5 filings. PD Site Plan 2 was 4 filings and 273 lots, and we just completed development. I say completed, we recently paved filing number 7, which is the final filing in PD Site Plan 2. And so we're moving into PD Site Plan 3, which will have filings 8 and 9. This is a relatively small filing. Debbie, I think there was one typo on one of your slides in regards to lot size, 9,854 square feet, up to, I think it should have been 97,664, slightly over 2 acres. And so some of what tied to this filing being smaller was based on utility service connections, and we're building adjacent to the park, Phase G Park, which is in progress with TriView. That's where they just drilled 2 regional wells, and we're putting in kind of a community amenity in the park, that public restrooms, picnic pavilions, etc. But no, everything for this particular phase, relatively small filing, is pretty cut and dry and consistent with the original approved sketch plan, along with the PD site plan that was approved earlier in the year. Any questions for me?
All right. Well, actually, I guess we did this previously. Any questions from commissioners to the applicant?
Hi, this is Sean White. I have a couple of questions. I was looking at sheet 2, the tract B in the middle of the 2 cul-de-sacs. I'm just wondering what that is. Is that open space or is that a formal park?
So throughout Sanctuary Point, you'll see these small tracts, and many of them are connection points. Many times we're just trying to save trees, so we don't have as many homes backing lot to lot. And a lot of what is driving some of these tracts in PD Site Plan 3 is the topography. And so we kind of ran all the roads on the ridges. So we're grading off that ridge, minimal grading. And then you'll actually, typically you run into like standard lots on one side of the street and walkout or garden level on the other. What we have a lot in Sanctuary Point is walkouts on both sides. And so what you're seeing there is an open tract B that'll be treed between the 2 segments of lots between Forest Cloud Way and Sunset Splinter Lane.
I'm perplexed. I'm pretty familiar with that area up there. I thought this sheet 2 was in the area that is currently like super cleared, where they were using, I think they were doing some concrete washout area there. Am I not thinking of the right area for sheet 2?
Yeah, you are not. So
okay.
It is actually tract A. So if you go up, I'm going to call it to the east on sheet 2, where you see the note tract A, that's where you've seen all of that's our stockpile area, borrow area. We've seen concrete washouts there, and that's where the formal park, the playground is in. The structure is almost complete. We're trying to wrap it up by Christmas time. There's been a lot of supply chain issues with materials with the COVID outbreak, but we're really close. We're really hoping we get done before Christmas on that. And so that big clear area is I think that's over an 8-acre park in there.
Okay. Got it. Okay, so now it makes more sense. So tract B then is just being reserved to retain its natural state of currently being treed?
Correct.
Perfect. All right. On sheet 3, I was noticing that lots 20 and 19 are exceptionally large, and it seems like it could have been segmented into 4 different lots. And I was wondering, is that a buildability issue because of topography, or were you desiring large lots as a specific offering?
That was a requirement of the sketch plan approval. So the sketch plan, or what we call the bubble plan initially, that I think was approved in 2006, we worked with the surrounding neighborhoods. Kingswood, we've worked very closely with through the last several years, Higbee Estates, et cetera. And so there was, through that process from 2006 all the way up until last year when we worked through the final PD Site Plan 3, there were requests for 50-foot buffers, and there were requests for transitional lot sizes where Kingswood, you've got 5-acre lots. They didn't want a 10,000 square foot lot directly adjacent. And so on the sketch plan, we laid out larger lots, and I'm looking at the sketch plan or the overall site plan. So we had a lot of average 2 acres. So you might have some 1.7 acres, some 2.3 acres on the northern boundary in PD Site Plan 2. And then this abuts directly adjacent to Kingswood. And so on the sketch plan, it required larger lots. And honestly, even if that wasn't required, we would have struggled to break that into 4 because that road's on a ridge where that cul-de-sac ends, and it's a 3-to-1 slope down into that valley. And so that's why you're seeing the density is so much lower in our PD Site Plan 3. And I know I was moving quick at the beginning. The east end of the property, where we've got the 5 filings and we've got some higher density product, the topography wasn't as extreme, wasn't as steep. And slowly, as we've worked west in this project, it's gotten where the topography gets more and more extreme, and the buildability becomes more complex. And so that's some of where you're seeing some of that. And frankly, some of it, the lower corner of this particular PD site plan, pretty steep. There's a nice flat area down there. If we would have been able at the time to get sewer through Stu and Sue Cobain's property or adjacent to there to get out to our sewer outfall line that runs down Kingswood, we likely would have requested, 650 lots or 30 lots or 20 lots on the original approval, but we were unwilling or unable to sewer out that direction, and so that's why you're seeing that large open space.
Okay, that makes sense. So adjacent to lot 2019 in Kingswood, those are 5-acre lots on the other side?
On the other side, yeah.
Okay. Oh, that makes sense. All right. And then let's see. Tract C on sheet 4 and 5, is that just open space, or what is Tract C about?
That is open space, and we do have a utility easement that the county trail, when and if that gets built, will connect through there. But we've worked with Jim McGrady at Triview. I know he's been working on the regional water system, and I know there's been a report, I think a couple Board of Trustee meetings ago, in regards to his hopes of interconnecting between Colorado Springs and getting water up to the monument area. And this particular area where we put the utility easement through that open space would give them the ability to put a water transfer line through there. And so we're just planning ahead for them. Mr. McGrady requested that in Triview, and that is an open space, and it would work as a trail, and they would have access for maintenance if required. It would be an underground line, not visible. So that's that huge open space.
Okay, that makes sense. And that dovetails into my final question. For this filing, the trails that are being shown, it sounds like these are going to be improved trails rather than some of the organic footpaths that exist today.
Well, what we've been doing is going through and we tried to utilize a lot of the existing trails that were there from when this was the Baptist camp. And so those will come in and improve with skid loader, with gravel. We clean those up. I don't know if you've been through the neighborhood and the trails that we've built thus far. It's pretty impressive. A lot of times we have to do a connection point to the streets. And so we'll show the trail and you're going, wait a minute, that's right down the side of the street. The sidewalk is part of the connectivity of the trail system. And then we try to get it back into the open space where it worked out well, whether it was utility easements, tracks, that sort of thing is where we took the trails through. And this lower area where we're not developing, there's some sandstone spires back there. And we're trying to really enhance the beauty back there. That'll be a great spot for the trail system.
Oh, yeah, I agree. And it's a nice, what is it, 25 acres in Tract C?
Yeah, that one's a big one. I think so.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm seeing there. Okay, great. Well, thank you for your responses. I think those are all the questions I have right now.
Perfect.
All right, other commissioners, if any.
Hello, Chris. Martin Trujillo here. Quick question here. For the vicinity map, I'm noticing on the map your depiction of Glen Eagle Drive from north to south up to Sanctuary Rim Drive. Not depicted there. The amount of volume that was using that for initially for the construction, is there anticipated any further construction that, I guess, traffic that will be on that Glen Eagle Drive, since Higbee was not corrected or connected to the Sanctuary Rim Drive for construction? How much more time is needed for these plots and all that industrial traffic that is driving on Glen Eagle with kids traveling the walkways there?
Sure. So Commissioner Trujillo, in the part of the PD Site Plan 2 approval was gaining a temporary access easement from Goodwin Knight, who is the owner of Home Place Ranch, for an 1,100-foot connection from the north end of Glen Eagle Drive, where it dead ends at Promontory Point, through their property, connecting to the west end of Sanctuary Rim Drive. We ran through traffic analysis for the PD Site Plan 2, and Debbie is the traffic expert. She could comment on what the traffic counts were, but there's actually less construction traffic anticipated than daily residential traffic. I think the average units per day per household is typically around 10. And so Home Place Ranch, I know that they're working through their first PD site plan. I can't speak to that, but I think they're getting relatively close. I know one of their conditions of approval, don't quote me, but I think was moving into PD Site Plan 2. Then that will trigger something along the lines going to Higbee. Not positive on that. I sat through the meeting, but don't know the details like probably Debbie and their team does. But in theory, with the production of less lots, and we've made it most of the way through PD Site Plan 2, PD Site Plan 3 is 72 lots. And you compare that to just filing 4 of Sanctuary Point, that was 105 lots. Filing 5, I think, was 59 lots. Filing 6 was around 56. I'm sorry, filing 5 was 53. And so this is a much smaller filing. And so I would think, based on the volume of activity up there in construction, what you're going to see for construction traffic in 2021 is very consistent with what has happened through 2020. And then as we finish homes and we move construction traffic out, we're moving residents in. So yes, you don't have the heavy equipment traffic or deliveries, but you do have the residential traffic, which based on all the traffic counts we looked at, was not only sufficient to handle all of Sanctuary Point based on kind of the break points, but it was also sufficient to handle PD Site Plan 1 of Home Place Ranch.
Perfect. That answers my question. I appreciate your time on that. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, Martin. Any other commissioners? All right. Having heard none, we'll move to public comments, and I'll turn again to Drew. Is there anyone online from the public?
Hello, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to be putting through Mr. Temple. He sent us an email. We have records of that. So I'm going to make him a panelist. And then as I'm doing that, ask him to connect audio if it doesn't happen by itself. And then he is free to make comment at that time. So, Mr. Kimple, when everything runs on your end, I will turn it back over to Mr. Chairman to take from there.
All right, Mr. Kemple, when you're online, please just state your name, address, and what you have to say.
Mr. Kemple, you'll just need to click the unmute button down in the middle bottom of your screen.
Okay, I got you. Ken Kemple, 16151 St. Lawrence Lane, Promontory Point. I'm just here to address a couple of concerns with the that Promontory Point residents have, along with myself. And we brought up this plat number 2 filing with additional traffic and the connection to Glen Eagle Drive. There's never been conditions really set forth to, because right now that's just an easement. I'll say it's an easement. There's no road striping to that connection. There's no sidewalks. There's no street lighting. And yes, you're going to eventually remove the construction traffic off that road going into Sanctuary Rim Drive, but you're going to add residential vehicles. And there's no condition that that road has to be firmly established and properly marked with striping, sidewalks, and lighting with all the additional traffic. When Promontory Point was first developed, Kingswood and Jackson Creek complained about the wildfire potential. Classic reduced the number of homes for Promontory Point to have built, and they concurred, and they moved forward with the build. What I don't hear is concerns now about the wildfire conditions, the potential with all these homes that have been added from phase 1, 2, 3, 4, now we're up to 8, with the evacuation. There's no evacuation plan. All the traffic's got to come down Glen Eagle and on to Baptist. At that light at Jackson Creek, it's already considered saturated by El Paso County. So now we're adding to it. And I don't really care if Sanctuary Point says that they're fire-wise, because a wildfire is not going to go, well, this community is fire-wise, I'm going to blow this way. Promontory Point is also fire-wise. I did the instruction. I worked with the forester. I looked at the models. The potential wildfire is going to come from Sanctuary Point or beyond, and it's going to come downslope all the way into Jackson Creek. With not having the road built out to Higbee Road, the only evacuation route is Sanctuary Rim Drive onto Glen Eagle to Baptist. So I would urge that that's considered, that there is a condition put in to have Higbee Road built out with the additional volume of homes being built in Sanctuary Rim or off Sanctuary Rim Drive in Sanctuary Point. Town of Monument Fire Rescue has to, from their home, they have to drive all the way around Jackson Creek up Baptist Road to enter Glen Eagle. That's a time response delay that could further, someone could die, or potential fire could spread even worse because of that delay without having a condition set in to join Higbee Road for quicker access and response. I would just like this, in a comprehensive plan, it states to help about future land use and plan, help to ensure that new development is paced with necessary public improvements. So I asked the question again. I would ask the panel to firmly talk about the infrastructure that's needed, because although the plot filing number 8 is a small amount of homes, add that to the already existing file developments and number of homes that are being built in Sanctuary Point, that's going to add, and then you add Home Place Ranch, which is going to be 300 homes for phase 1.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kemple. And before the applicant responds, Before the applicant responds, Drew, is there any other members of the public online?
Mr. Chairman, not that have raised their hands.
Okay. So just to keep this focused, if the applicant would like to provide a rebuttal or otherwise respond, please do so.
Okay. Thank you. In regards to the final build-out and ultimate width and construction of Glen Eagle Drive connecting to Sanctuary Rim Drive. That was very much part of the PD Site Plan 2 approval process, that what would be typical for county or town access on a secondary road, handling the level of traffic that is coming from Sanctuary Point, the 24-foot max, as a temporary access easement, was all contemplated, worked through on the traffic side, staff, and contemplated by both Planning Commission and Board of Trustees. There was a lot of discussion had in regards to that. Goodwin Knight and Bry Knight were involved with that discussion. They granted us the easement. We've worked very closely on that. And I know that, again, if the economy tanks, they decide not to move forward, the connection we have there was deemed appropriate by Fire. Fire Marshal Baumgartner worked very closely with us. Chief Trudy was involved. And so once the ultimate build out to the roundabout, there will eventually be a roundabout where the bend is right now. And actually, Mr. Kemple requested several months ago, earlier in the year, that we put up no pedestrian signs because there is no sidewalks. And he was trying to keep the residents from Promontory Point safe and not accessing through that. So I actually put no pedestrian signs at both ends of that access point, at the Sanctuary Point boundary and the Promontory Point boundary. I don't know that that's been acknowledged and it's utilized, and I think, not everybody drives carefully, but that doesn't go for just residents of Promontory or Sanctuary. That's everywhere, right? If people are electing to speed or drive carelessly, as much as we'd love to have control of that, we don't. As far as, and again, traffic lights will tie into their PD Site Plan 1. The ultimate build out of the roundabout will tie into Goodwin Knight's PD Site Plan 1. As far as wildfire mitigation, again, as Mr. Kemple stated, we are a FireWise community. We've worked closely not only with Dave Root, the forester, but we've also been hand in hand, and Jamie Baumgartner, the fire marshal, we didn't do it this year because of COVID, but he will come up and do a little educational thing, and the guys bring up the fire trucks for a barbecue every summer. We do have an additional emergency access that was required at the end of Kingswood. We have a Knox box on there as required by the fire department on both ends of that. It accesses not only up through Phase G Park, it also accesses to the east to Treebark Terrace. We have that gated with Knox box for emergency access and evacuation. And again, that was all contemplated as part of PD Site Plan 2 approval, along with PD Site Plan 3 approval. Prior to getting those approved, we had a secondary access point from Bark Sparrow onto Red Fox Lane. And so I think through previous PD Site Plan approvals, all of this has been contemplated. The fire department, fire district had to comment on this. Traffic had to be involved with all the studies. The plat is recording of boundaries ultimately from previous approvals via the sketch plan process, annexation process, PD site plan process. So those are the more thorough where we dig into traffic, fire, safety. Once we've met all of that, that's where we move to the platting process, which ultimately laying out and giving legal descriptions for what was already previously approved through the process.
All right, thank you. And just while we're on the subject, I think it's important enough, but any questions from the commissioners to the applicant on this particular subject? My one question would be to the representative. I guess in a nutshell, is there an evacuation plan for the citizens of Sanctuary Point that have been shared with the citizens of Sanctuary Point as of today?
There is not a formal evacuation plan. What we have to do is traffic counts, and we have to provide the traffic studies to the fire department. And so then Fire Marshal Baumgartner and Chief Trudy at the time work through that and look at the layout and their access points, and they either bless it or they don't. And so, again, I think similar to the conversation associated with the earlier approval or the UPS was, well, we could lay that out that the evacuation, if you live on this street, you should go east. If you live on this street, you should go west. If the fire's barreling in from the west or barreling in from the east or north or south, that's going to change everybody's mindset on how they're trying to get out. And so really we depend on our traffic engineers and experts along with the expertise. And again, Fire Marshal Baumgartner's been fantastic to work with, very involved in this project. I think during the PD Site Plan 2 approval, he even went through the flashpoints and timing of how fast the fuel burns in the grassy area near Promontory, Home Place Ranch versus what the heavy fuels in Sanctuary Point burn at, and all of that was contemplated when we had to install these emergency access points to H20 loading requirements.
And just to follow up, and then I'll shut up, is there upon the conclusion of the build out of Sanctuary Point, is there a requirement that an evacuation light plan or an evacuation plan be submitted or otherwise provided to Sanctuary Point residents?
No, and that would be something that if the fire department felt appropriate, I don't think they do that on Hillside and Colorado Springs, I'm not positive, with Fire Marshal Lacey, but again, there's so many variables. They can give, like a building, you can give the fire escape plan, but people are going to move away from the fire. So if it's on one end of a building, they're going to move opposite of that. It's hard to lay out as long as you've got these points marked. And I think we've done a good job of laying those out within the community. Obviously, you've got your two primary access points and a third emergency access, which is the Kingswood.
Okay. Any other commissioners? I'm sorry to hog the time. Okay. Given that there's no more public comments, I'll just formally close public comments at this time and then open for internal discussion within the commissioners. And please go ahead, anyone.
I'm happy to start off. This is Steve King. Regarding our roles and regarding the fire mitigation or fire access or number of access points, I think in regards to all that, we need to rely on experts because we're not. And trying to force somebody to build a road through somebody else's property is something that we wouldn't be able to do as well. You know, I don't know that there's obvious problems here as far as fire mitigation goes, or as far as fire rescue can get in and out of this place. You know, that's their job, not our job. And so that's really all I have to say on that. But going forward, I'd like to make a comment about this project in general, because Home Place Ranch is going to be coming up. And none of us were on this commission when the site or when the sketch plan was approved. But this area is one of the few areas that we have really along the whole entire Front Range where it's heavily forested. And in the town of Monument, it's one of the very few areas that we have that's heavily forested. And this particular project, in the first few phases of this, and actually throughout the whole thing, but particularly in the first few phases, the amount of trees that got cut down on this project is criminal in my opinion. These 6,000 and 8,000 square foot lots in the first couple of phases, and even 9,000 square foot lots. I mean, you have to tear every tree down in order to build a house there. And then you leave, tracks of trees throughout so that you still kind of feel like you're in a forest. But going forward, I would just like to make the comment that we really need to look at that, because there's just very few areas like this, and there's just thousands and thousands of trees that went out of this project. I'm not going to, I mean, they've done what they said they're going to do. They've had the right to do what they're doing. I'm not going to not vote for this because of that. But I do want to just make a point on record that particularly when we come to Home Place Ranch, we had talked about that initially when they went for their first phase, what they were going to do when they got to the treat areas. And that's going to be my position when we get there. That's all I have to say.
Josh Thomas here. I agree with Commissioner King pertaining to the fire recommendations. We're not the experts on that. We look to the experts. We look to what the town staff provide us with. After review of the PD site plan, I would agree with the staff's recommendations.
Anyone else? Sean or Martin? Okay.
Steve, I was initially kind of disagreeing with your perspective on the number of trees that were taken down. I bike through Sanctuary Point all the time. I live quite near there, and I thought that they had done a pretty good job of trying to preserve as many trees as possible. And I still think that when you're going to build this many houses, they've done as good a job as one can do when you build that many houses. But I'm on Google Earth right now, and I've just zoomed out to the 10,000-foot view, and you can just really see that how the density of trees dramatically is decreased in that whole area. So I'm tending to agree with you that as we start looking at initial PD plans, that we take into consideration the amenities that make Monument a valuable place to live, and do what we can to support the comprehensive plan to keep Monument a desirable place to live. And I think preserving heavily treated areas to the greatest extent possible without violating any landowner rights is one of those things that we should really take into consideration as we approve these initial development plans. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, it's just Chris Well. I mean, I don't disagree with you. And one of the communities I lived in at some point, they had some requirement. You take one tree down, you got to put two. So, having something like that would be wonderful. Maybe we can work somehow, some way with the folks who are doing some revisions. I don't know. But, I think my concern, but I agree with Josh, is this idea of, I'm not an expert in this. I just hear the news and kind of smell the smoke a little bit, and you just have to wonder, and I'd like to think that the developer and as well as the officials are looking at fire contingencies and knowing that any plan is, possibly worth the weight of paper it's written on, but still having a plan and sharing that plan, I think, is really, really vital from especially a liability standpoint. And, you don't know which way the wind's going to blow, but still, here's the 3 ways you can get the heck out of here when it needs to happen, and no question about that. I think that's something that should be at least, reminded, and I'll leave it up to the experts, though, to make sure that is done. So I think Sanctuary Point is generally a beautiful development. I'm very impressed with it, and I'll leave it at that. All right. Sounds like we're all done on our discussion. I will go ahead and, request someone move on this Sanctuary Point filing number 8, if anyone would like to.
Sure. This is Commissioner White. I, Commissioner White, move that the Planning Commission recommend approval of Sanctuary Point filing number 8, final plat based on staff report findings, and that the proposed development complies with all standards and criteria for approval.
I second that.
All right, staff.
Commissioner Martin Trujillo.
I agree.
Yes. Commissioner Steve King.
Yes.
Commissioner Joshua Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Sean White.
Yes.
And co-chairman Chris Wilhelmy.
Yes.
This project has been approved 5-0.
All right, thank you, staff, and
for your time.
thank you, applicant. I'm just going to move forward with any non-agenda items for public comment. If there's anyone, and I'll turn to Drew, anyone in the public sphere, the ether out there that wants to or would like to make a public comment.
I'm just going to check back in with Mr. Kimple. He does still have his hand raised, and I want to make sure that we don't leave anybody out.
Thank you.
Mr. Kimple, did you have any additional comments for just general? He went off and right back on mute, and I didn't catch what he said, so I'm going to assume that he does not.
Okay. Thank you, Drew.
So,
I have one comment to make.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Kimple.
I would just ask the board, when reviewing all the site plans and how the developers talk about that they've done a traffic studies, I, as a resident, would like to know when that traffic study was completed and by what means it was completed by, because when I review the El Paso County traffic study that's online, they're already showing places like Baptist Road at Jackson Creek already saturated. You know, and what is adding all this development, what is adding all this traffic, as earlier you guys talked about the UPS trucks and such like that. How is that all going to add to the already saturated roads that are annotated by El Paso County, as they are the experts in that? That's all I ask for, is that you ask for when the traffic study was completed and by what means, so we as residents know that as well in the board packages.
Thank you, Mr. Kimple. Anyone else, Drew?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right. All right, so just following the agenda here, I'm going to move to reports, communications. Commissioners first. Is there anyone that has any reports or communications to share with the group at this time? All right. How about staff?
No, we don't have anything. Oh, go ahead.
This is Larry. I just wanted to update you on the Jackson Creek segment from Higbee Road up to 105. We do have, we're pretty far along with getting the design done in 2021. And we have enough funding in 2022 to do a portion of the improvements. And then at this time, that portion would be the intersection of Higbee and Jackson Creek, and as far north of that as we can go with the improvements. We have a lot of storm drainage improvements that have to be done, and we're just hoping the funding we have available will get us to the north entrance to the YMCA, and then we can work further in future years. We do have, as you know, the village development that is occurring north of the YMCA, and we are working constantly with that developer to hopefully get that stretch from that Higbee up to the YMCA, the rest of that stretch done as that development begins to come in.
Thank you, Larry. Can you tease with, is it going to be something that's essentially a continuation of the improvement already done just south of Higbee, where bike lane / pavement, or both?
We're intending to continue the same cross-section.
Awesome. It's great news. Is there any other report on the consultants?
Debbie, I assume you're referring to the update of the ordinances?
Yes.
Correct.
Sorry.
Oh, the code rewrite?
Sorry about that.
Go ahead, Debbie.
Are you referring to the code rewrite?
I am.
Oh, yes. Steve King has been doing a great job providing comments for the code rewrite. We're up to 5 chapters that has been submitted, reviewed, and commented. It's going smoothly. Once the committee agrees that all the revisions that were made afterwards, they sent the plan tool sent the revised chapters out after everyone commented So once everyone agrees on all those comments from all those chapters that have been submitted and reviewed and commented on, the plan tools will be putting it on our website for the public to view as well and show the update of the chapters. But right now they didn't put them up yet because we're just waiting to get approval from the committee. Once we get approval from the committee, they will be up for the residents to view.
Awesome. Debbie, is just generally speaking, are things progressing on time and on budget?
Yes, having this committee that we have that are the 2 planning commissioners, the 2 board members, HBA, and then now the Air Force Academy is providing comments too, has been moving smoothly because of our committee and our staff. So, and Martin and his team has been doing a great job as well. And we're on budget and we're on schedule.
Wow. So thank you, Martin. Thank you, Steve. Am I missing anyone else besides staff? Thank you, staff, as well. That's awesome.
I wanted to slide in real quick. As this is the first fully remote PC meeting, I wanted to commend you guys that you've all done an amazing job. This has gone so incredibly smoothly. So my hats off to you guys, and thank you guys for reaching out ahead of time and making it a priority and doing such a great job.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you.
From the commissioners or staff, anything else before we move on to announcements? Okay. Staff, if you can enlighten us.
Hopefully the next PC meeting will be January 13th.
Sounds good.
And it's 100% remote until further notice, since we are in level red.
Okay. All right. That sounds like a place to end it. So thank you, everyone, for your time tonight. Thank you, staff. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, applicants, and the public for participating. I'm going to move to adjourn. Anyone want a second?
Second.
All right. All right. Thank you, everyone. That's all from me.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Okay.
Good night. Good job, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Great job, Debbie.